So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we've got a very, very interesting episode. So I'm here live in Nis, in Serbia, with Mr. Zoran Popovic. Welcome, Zoran.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Andrew. Thank you for having me here.
So, people may be thinking, you've been doing the G&T Sessions for a few years. Why are you in Serbia? Well, maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the fact that we met, how we met, and then we were having this idea, right? I think we even mentioned it right there when we met, that we might organize a conference for digital nomads. So we did, and it was last weekend, and I think it was a pretty good one. So how did you like it, then, Andrew? Conference that we had?
I thought it was amazing. Yeah, so back in May, this 2024.
Yeah.
Everybody, 3,500 people amazingly flew to Malta in the Mediterranean, just south of Italy, and I suppose, attend the 10th anniversary of the EU Startup Summit. And then I remember vividly, we were on the roof having a very nice drink on the Friday night, and after the conference to kind of just finish the final before we say goodbye. And yeah, I got talking to two very interesting individuals, Zoran here, and then we'll go Zoran's background in a bit, but and also Milan. And yeah, we kind of we're in this kind of circle of various different interesting individuals from different countries.
Yes.
All across Europe, and then you hatch this idea. So people may not know about this concept called digital nomads, and neither did I until 3 days ago, or a few weeks ago. But yeah, it seems to be a growing phenomenon across the world, and something to be celebrated.
Yeah.
But I suppose, quick question to you, I suppose, just to kick off this episode is, what, maybe people that don't know you, who is Zoran? And then maybe you can talk a little bit about, what was the trigger event? What made you do what you did this last weekend, which was an amazing piece of collaboration?
Exactly. So who is Zoran? That's a very good question. I ask myself sometimes. But I can do a few facts about me. Like I'm an entrepreneur. I live in Nis in Serbia. I'm 39, almost 40. I have a couple of companies here and my own consulting agency on top. And now, obviously, I run a conference here in Nis. So what I do is we do a lot of software development on one side. We made more products over the time. We realize it's time to actually clean and understand what things going on in there. So the products are moving into a spin-off, which is now a startup called Guidelites. So yeah, it was a problem for a longer time. So who's Zoran? Zoran is a father of 3 also. I have a lovely wife. My wife's a doctor, and she's an ambitious lady. I also like to travel, and I'm a digital nomad, obviously, becoming one.
Well, so the question is, you touched on this in the introduction, but what do you define as a digital nomad? How would you define that today? I had various conversations over this weekend, but what's your definition?
My definition of it is a remote worker who's actually moving or living different places and actually seeking an adventure, a modern day backpacker who's working while traveling.
A modern day backpacker who's working while traveling.
Yes.
I suppose that creates a kind of a thing in my mind about backpacker, but it's not quite like that, is it? If you think
actually,
I suppose as long as you've got a backpack with a laptop in it.
Yes. But I kind of narrow it. Of course, there's a lot of entrepreneurs going on there. And there's people who are very satisfied in a lot of things they did, and they're fully financially independent, so they live along the digital nomads. They are also digital nomads. Only I was aiming for the majority of people I met. So let's say that it's a person who can live and work remotely and likes to travel and likes to take the adventure, maybe take off the backpack.
Right. Yeah. And I suppose that do you see, or in your experience in putting together this conference that you did this last weekend, is do you see some triggers that have happened that have created that over the last few years? Because obviously traditionally people would have you could say a traditional job and they would be in an office. I know we're in an office today.
Yeah.
But you're obviously sat here now and you're observing, we're all observing this shift into different types of work mode.
Yeah.
What's your view on that?
My view is, well, ever since 2009, I started.
All right.
Yeah, as a developer working remotely in 2009, and I was completely remote. There was no need for me. So that's the thing I figured out quickly. I don't need to be at home. I can be anywhere where I could have a good internet connection. So I kind of foresaw that this is going to happen.
Right.
That we're going to have these digital moments. For a time, we were moving. When we were three in the company, we were still fully remote. We could go to Greece, for example, work there for 3 months, enjoy the sun and the seaside, and then come back, and it doesn't influence anybody. So that's what was telling me that this is coming along. Digital nomads is going to happen. Everything changed. Hybrid remote working.
Hybrid working, yeah.
Yeah, and remote became even more dominant, and less people want to say no to remote work. So I think this goes in line with that.
And do you think it's a certain? I mean, obviously you come up through a kind of a technology track, and obviously now running your own businesses. But do you think it's actually certain types of role that you see in these types of community now, or is it just IT technology people, or is it quite diverse across the different types of things that people do?
Yeah, well, what do we define as IT? A lot of people say these are IT people, but I see copywriters, I see marketeers, I see business owners, I see there are developers, there are also designers involved. I see them as there are many entrepreneurs doing different things like automating things, so not IT per se. So it is a wide variety of people, like people organizing resorts. A lot of people from tourism are there.
Right.
I saw also people organizing retreats or communities.
Right.
These are a big part of the digital nomad world.
And this event that you organised with Milan and Anna, you obviously and Lazar. What was it?
So we had an instant connection there, and then we started talking. He asked him who you are. He's a true digital nomad. I was always flirting with that idea, but I never became a digital nomad like that. And he says it in one of our announcements because he's not a digital nomad. So the guy.
What pointing at you?
Yeah,
right,
exactly. So we had an instant connection, pretty good one. Like I like the person right there. We can understand each other, and we are very complementary, very different. So it makes us complementary. And then he says, "Yeah, I want to organize a conference for digital nomads, and I'm renting a couple of places here in Nis." So I met a lot of people, and some of them were digital nomads. So I heard the term, I read about it, and it kind of crystallized already what it is in my mind. So I said, "Yeah, I'm all for it." Why? Meeting people, meeting interesting people. At that time, I was all about going to conferences, meeting people, and then thinking, "Wow, they're digital nomads. It sounds like something interesting. Let's organize it. Let's promote my city." Because the city of Nis is third largest city in Serbia, and it's kind of always in the shadow of Belgrade and Novi Sad.
Okay.
And I like my city. So I thought, like, if we're going to organize it, let's do it here. That's the genesis behind it. He's also a big patriot of Milan. So located here in Nis. He moved back from Australia.
Right.
He was born to live here in Nis. So yeah, I think that's how
he plays guitar as well.
Yeah, he plays the guitar. He plays the guitar. He's
He's a developer as well, though.
He's a software developer. That's what his job is. But he used to play in a band. He used to have a band and then go around Australia. And during this time that he had a band, he was an organizer of it. So he said, "Yeah, I want to organize a conference. I know Nomads." He was the main marketing guy, literally, because he goes to these events with Nomads and then it's like a marketing machine, make connections, and that's a part that I actually also learned because he's such an amazing guy to connect with. So that's how we got to the conference. I saw the potential of him. I know that I can organize things. I'm very well connected here in Niš, so let's combine the two. And we met you in Malta. While I asked him to join the conference of startups, which he obviously it's not compatible with him, but it is his thing that he likes to connect with people and promote. See, that's why he was there in Malta.
And the interesting thing I found was that because it's obviously it's great that you've got like a complementary team. You've all got different superpowers, as I would call it.
Yeah.
So it like works really well. For people that don't know about Niš, I mean, there's quite a lot of history associated with Niš, isn't there? I mean, can you just explain to the audience a little bit about that?
Yes, Niš is a city in southeast Serbia. It's crossroad. South of it is Macedonia, it's North Macedonia and then Greece. To the west, you go to the upper level of Balkans, and then you go to Bosnia and Croatia and Slovenia. And to the east, it's Bulgaria in connection to the Turkey. But why is it the crossroad? Well, actually, it's dead central of the Balkans when you look at it.
How is it?
It's really an important geolocation. Also a source of a lot of problems for us locally because of that. It has a fortress, the Turkish Ottoman style fortress from the 17th century. It was built here. But that fortress was built upon a much, much more older Roman fortress.
Okay.
So, it used to be back in the Roman times, capital of the province Moesia, Superior, which is basically modern Serbia today, parts of Hungary and parts of Bosnia, Bulgaria, quite a large province. And that area is like the birthplace of 13 Roman emperors.
Wow.
Modern day in Serbia, 13 Roman emperors were born on the territory. So one of them is Constantine the Great, and he was actually born here in Niš. At the time, the city was called Nisus. It still remains in the total name. And he obviously liked it a lot, so he built palaces here and some fortifications and made it a nice trade route. So it was the capital of the whole province. And that's in Roman times. But then later on, the Serbian state started after the migration of Slavs here, so a bunch of Serbians. Then they accept Christianity, started to build upon this area. So it was not as important back then up until the Roman times. So the Ottoman times. They built a fortress then. It was a border town for a long time. And surroundings, you have more forts, you have much history here. Like we have a joke here, when you start digging, you will eventually end up to a Roman wall or something. And you can just start digging. And people like, one fun fact that I remember, one of the farmers farming on a hill in Niš, actually called Vinik, while he was farming with his oxes and everything, like they hit such a big jar of golden coins and silver coins that I think 90% of the coins in all the museums in Europe come from that single event. It was in 1932 or something. I don't check. I'm not good with dates that much, but I know about this event for sure. So Niš is,
it's like a melting pot of history.
Yes, exactly.
Incredible.
Yes, it's an interesting city. I'm not that much into history, but it kind of sticks with me. Once I hear this story,
you like a local historian.
Yes.
So you've done obviously lots of speakers. I was, you kind of let me speak as well about my stuff that I did, and some kind of like insights from what I've learned and from the podcast and some of this comedy stuff that I've done, the tech stuff. And what's the future then? What do you see as the future in terms of the what's next for the digital nomad or the niche environment from your point of view?
Well, first we're going to gather the honest feedback from the nomads and people that have just visited niche for the first time, because they're comparing to other cities, other locations. So we really need to understand their feedback, see how they feel about it, and then see if it has a potential. We think it has a potential, but we just finished it 3 or 4 days ago, or actually 2 days ago. So it takes some time for the information to settle, but I hope to make this yearly event recurring and that we are going to have more and more reason and gather more ideas and more people into niche and showcase some of the advantages that niche has to offer. But for now, I hope to make it an annual thing, but let's see the feedback. So far, it was very good feedback. Everyone enjoyed the event and they liked niche. They connected to people, but let's settle it down.
I celebrate what you've done. It's just pulling off one event of that magnitude with that time scale is an achievement. So high 10 for doing that. And I agree. I think there's a lot of good feedback, there's a lot of good conversations, and I think you put your niche on the map.
Exactly.
I mean, historically it's already on the map anyway because of all the history associated. I think it's all great to you, Milan and Nana and Laza that you put this together. So because I think you also saw people positively contributing to it as well.
Yes.
So they saw the effort you put in and they wanted to help you out.
Yeah, that's all about the community. So the community is the one that makes this kind of thing work. And we did put a lot of effort. A great presentation. You were there with the people, so you saw how they did. We want to put niche on the map, especially on the map of digital nomads, because it's a nice thing. It's a safe city. It's not that big, like 300,000 people, but the core of it is kind of tiny and walkable and nice.
Yes.
So we want to put it there. We want people to see it and then just come over here and enjoy it. My personal goal is to make connections, and I want to introduce diversity to this city because it's a very Serbian city. 95% of the population comes Serbian. So I want to have some diversity there. We have different ideas, opinions, and everything. I want the restaurants to make more food, vegetarian food, vegan food, because they get asked for it. Otherwise, not so much diversity.
Oh, really? Oh, you do? Well, I know obviously there's quite a meat-dominated kind of diet. That's probably why all the Serbian guys are so tall. The Serbian women are so tall as well. That's why it's in the kind of the hereditary genes about eating all this protein, maybe.
Yeah, protein is good, but that's what you get at the restaurant, But it's not about that. You have so much cooked food, but nobody is actually promoting because everybody thinks like just giving it to people. It's not like that.
Right.
There's a lot more, especially cooked stuff like paprika or salmon. Like these things are very nice. That's my favorite food, but nobody's doing it. I think we did it in one of the evenings. The last one on Sunday, went to a restaurant. We had some cooked beans and just some other than meat.
Well, but I think that's what I think you've got to think about how you encourage that, because the thing is that the challenge you've got is that you don't want it to be tainted. Because if you look at some of the other countries, they've been completely tainted by other diets and other choices, and everywhere looks the same. So it's that thing about how do you keep Serbia what it is and that jewel in the Balkans, but also actually but don't let it overtake what you've got in Serbia.
Yeah, I think they're going to stay authentic when it comes to that part of food, but just get more options, like you said. And it is the trend that I see happening. We're getting many more options. Just give enough time for people to create diversity, but the traditional stuff like kafana.
Because the interesting thing is also because obviously part of what this geography is that you're outside the EU. It's all right.
Yes.
So you've got also that you kind of like also the gateway to Asia.
Yes.
So it's a very interesting kind of place, I suppose, from a geolocation point of view. And then I suppose if you switch back into the topic about the heritage and of Nice as well, one of the things I was quite impressed with is quite a big engineering culture here, isn't it? Because of the EI, I think it was, that's right, yeah. Where you were making consumer electronics for a number of years before all the troubles in the 1990s. But
yes,
that's also if you think about building a kind of a tech hub or a kind of a software hub, and obviously it will help your businesses. I suppose that's quite an interesting, because I presume the grandparents and the parents and yourselves and your children, there's kind of like those understanding binary and passing down the software coding skills is kind of part of the DNA, I suppose.
Yes. EA was a major factory, a major contribution agent to this city. It was, it means electronic industry. That's why the acronym. And yeah, I'll tell my personal side of it, how I saw it. My parents, neither of them worked there. Both my parents worked at the tobacco industry, which was the third largest at the time in the city. You had the electronics industry, and machine industry, and you had the tobacco industry as the three main huge factories supplying most of the people and all of that. So, and my father was all about electronics. So I remember how much he wanted actually to be there, but he wasn't. So what did the electronic industry do? Well, you can imagine Yugoslavia at the time of 1948 and all. Well, it needed to supply its own market, because soon enough they will say no to the Soviet Union and Ethiopia in between, and it wanted to play that independent game, so it needed to powerhouse, so radios, transistors, all that. So they hired Germans. They bring people from Germany in 1948, and they find this company. So it starts out kind of ambitious from the start. By 1950, I think it was producing a lot, but I don't want to false out data because I don't know. I know it was every radio in ex-Yugoslavia was made by the electronic industry. The only other counterpart that I know that exists in Yugoslavia at the time is Slovenia. It did survive because Slovenia had played better after the break of Yugoslavia. While Serbia here in Niche, like imagine 28,000 people directly worked at the electronic industry. Was producing everything, including TVs, washing machines, even washing machines for dishes, dishwashers at the time.
Right. Yeah.
So all of that was there. Collaborations with Samsung, with Honeywell, with Philips, all of that stuff. And yeah, 28,000 people. And then in the 90s, it really troubled, because you cannot work in such a smaller market like Serbia and Montenegro, and we know with the export blocked by the embargo, it was completely left correct in there. So today they're reviving the space at least, and the legacy will always remain. Like a lot, you mentioned it's in the genes, the engineering culture, because it was so enforced. We have an electronic faculty here in Niche, and it's also for IT and for the actual working with electronics. And it's really there, although it's not a city of electronics anymore. We have now a bunch of IT companies, and we actually try to use that energy and point it into the software part.
So, I mean, I think the interesting thing is, because of that heritage as well, you've got the Science and Technology Park where the conference was. You've got University of Niche, which obviously got the faculties that are obviously the disciplines around these engineering practices. And then you can combine that with the software development companies that are growing and being incubated, you can say here as well. You've got a really interesting mix then. I'm not saying to it's not a competition with Belgrade or the other locations in Serbia, but you've actually got quite an interesting combination there of, and then you combine that with the history and the kind of just a general environment of what this is. You've got a very powerful thing to attract talent. Because when we talk about in G&T session, we talk about gifted and talented people. How do you create this kind of hub? You started it with the Nomad Weekend. Then what could be the future with stuff that the science technology part presented over the weekend. It seems like there's big plans to expand that as well, and get the government involved, help you out with scaling it up. So I think there's a lot of different, if you think about back to the meals, the lovely meals that you have here, is lots of good ingredients put together, which is the exciting thing about it.
Yeah, we all have this feeling that it's there. That's why I say I want to bring in the ideas from the outside, because I don't think that we can see it all like that. We understand that we have something going on. There are a bunch of startups actually starting now. Because I have a startup, I see that startups are there. Like actually with Science and Technology Park, it's an incubator for that.
Yeah.
So it's going to double in size now. And I think there's things going on, like things are moving for as long as there's no problems on the country level, things are going to move smoothly and improve. And exactly that, what you said, it's a nice triangle. There's a lot of, I don't actually know it, but recently I went to this meeting and then I find out there is a company who does, for example, hardware things, and that they're very successful in their area, or that there is this search addition and search intelligence that's added to, what is it, to Magento and these shops.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Commercial
Online company.
Yeah, online. I love that. They're a very successful company, and then they're not in the ecosystem, so I didn't figure out. We have a hub, we call it NICAT cluster of advanced, that's a niche cluster of advanced technologies. There's about 40 companies in there, and we try to hang out, organize, help each other. And you met some of them. You met ones from ING,
Yeah.
We met Milan from Shinri.
Yeah.
And I think there were more, but I'm not really sure at this moment. The idea is to cooperate, not to feel each other like competition, although we have the same developer pool in this case, but we're supporting each other there. So that's
the interesting thing I find is that, when I went to Malta and the kind of what the Prime Minister was saying there about that geography and the opportunity that they're trying to create with that island. I think it's the same thing with Serbia, with Nis, and what we're doing here is that there isn't that. You've got some very good ingredients, but you haven't got the kind of the opportunities to do it right. Try and learn from what has happened in other geographies.
Yes.
And try and not make the same mistakes that some other geographies have done. I'm not going to go into mistakes or views on that, but try and create your own identity, and then but there's definitely an opportunity with that thing, because I think people are making those choices about where they work, who they work with, how they work, and it's not purely about the financial side. It's a kind of multi-dimensional decision.
Yes.
And I think that's where you can play into that, because it's about the environment, and also because to your point about you being a gateway here, you're a gateway to as you said, the central point in the whole of the Balkans.
Yes,
that's a lot. That's quite a big land space. There's a hell of a lot of countries around here to explore. So.
Yes, and it's good for the Nomads because we're out of Schengen, so they can, when they're having the Schengen expiration, like 6 months at the end of the time, they can come to Serbia. They do. And we have these talks about how the ingredients that we have. We're trying to connect these ingredients and work it out, but again, it's on the individual initiative. So you can recognize it also. See the potential, so it needs to be someone's initiative, create some amazing thing. And we actually have one. I think the biggest exit that happened out of all Serbian startups, the guys from Nis, he went to the US, his company is here.
Okay.
So they got the biggest exit so far. So you're right about that. I forgot, and that's not the only one. It's successful stories like that because they recognize the ingredients and all the connections, like you said.
Well, yeah, and also, you've not only got the kind of the history with the kind of, Constantine the Great and all that stuff there, but you've also got Nikola Tesla, yeah?
Yes.
Which obviously, was the thing about, if you don't do the desk research, you would, actually he was born a Serbian.
Yes.
Yeah. There's obviously a Croatian kind of dimensional angle to it as well. But, it's interesting how if you don't do that desk research, you don't realize actually that there's such a strong heritage, and such an interesting set of components here.
Yes.
It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Nikola Tesla being one of the greatest inventors of all the time. It's a source for Croatians to say that he was Croatian because he was one. Serbian ethnicity, doesn't matter. What matters is that he is such a strong figure that he influenced so many people, both here in Croatia and that are aspiring to that do realize you can do it.
Yeah.
You're able to do it. He's a figure that I see as the most inspiring one. Because he didn't okay, he was a great inventor. He was also striving for goals that are not egocentric anymore, for way higher.
Yeah, the greater good.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what gives it a special thing in the world, like that guy, and to aspire to do.
So, so I suppose to finish off is that the couple of companies that you've got, obviously you've got a couple of different companies. You've got a startup called Guidelites, is there?
Yes.
So I suppose what's the plan for the next few years with Guidelites? Anything you want to share on that?
Yes, Guidelites has two products in there. We are now focusing more on the digital reception, which is the second product. So our plan there is, I'm going to be not so humble, but modest actually. Like we want to become the standard reception. We want to be the one that when you say, this is the standard thing, this is it. You don't think others. So we are working on that. We got 2 trained so far and a lot of mentorship along the way from different programs. We have resellers in the Netherlands, and the goal in 5 years is to become the standard. Like the AI is joining us now. We need to add some features regarding the AI, obviously. And I have a vision. So it should be not replacing, but working along the receptions of this world. That's the mission for it.
So when you said to try and help to others, so that would be you visit a building, a physical building, and this is a platform to help the visitor orientate themselves to a meeting or to meet an individual. It's basically the interaction system when you visit a building.
Yes. Thank you, Andrew, for helping. I'm not always the best in that, but this is exactly the idea. You are supposed to have a meeting with somebody at a certain place. You invite a reception along the way. It does the rest of the handling, offering the QR code or the PIN code that you can use. But imagine that the reception is somewhere in the entrance. So a lot of our clients actually they need to be the access system also.
Right. Okay.
So you cannot walk before you just check in. You have multiple check-in options like with the QR code, like the PIN code, like manual check-in. Type in your name and then choose who you're visiting. The GDPR isn't there because only people will be on the list. Then the reception is about to make a call so that it makes a direct connection between me and my host.
Right.
So that we kind of speed it up. It's not a manual thing that I need to write in a book and wait for the receptionist to make a call. On the other hand, a lot of our clients do have their own flows and they know their work better than we do. So we decided to be the one that's customizable, but truly customizable reception. We customize the flow according to that, whether they need to sign a document, accept the document, watch
like
compliance things. Yes, watch a safety video before entering a certain area, or they have multiple flows for visitors. Like one gate is just for truck drivers bringing the goods, another gate is for people and for interviews. So all of these different interfaces, they connect within our system, and we try to make it as intelligent as possible. Like when you do get this information through an email or you do check in at the home reception, it will tell you how to find it. And yeah, that's how we currently develop it.
So the good news is that despite remote working, despite digital nomads, we still have to visit buildings at some point in our lives.
But we are human, right? We need to have a face-to-face interaction. And I believe, especially in business, it's very important. You need to see the person that you're going to deal with. So our reception is there to stay. I don't see how it can be obsolete because we're going to make it smarter. We're working on improving it and seeing what's going to be there in the future. I am a firm believer that a lot of what AI is going to change with the current revolution, or let's say the movement that's happening, is that user interfaces are going to change mostly. Because we are going to be able to talk to machines very strongly.
Yeah.
And I want to be at the forefront of that now in our digital reception. Sounds easy, looks easy, but let's test it. The thing that I feel is we as a generation are not ready for it. We don't feel comfortable with it. I'm testing the ChatGPT mobile app with my mother or her friend or with someone younger, and I see the discomfort in people. But I think as soon as a major player does something more with the voice, everybody's going to see the benefits of talking to it instead of using your mouse or any other input. I think it can be much, much more precise with your voice.
Well, if you've watched the film Her,
yes, I do.
With Scarlett Johansson and Joaquin Phoenix, then you probably know where we're going.
Yes, yes.
Because that usually Hollywood actually is playing forward or predicting how we're all going to be in the future. So we download our Guidelites OS into every building in the world. That's cool. So thank you very much, Zoran, for coming on the show today. It's great to do things in person as well.
Yes.
I think it's actually maybe one of the first episodes ever in the history of the G&T Sessions podcast. So pleasure to see you again. Pleasure to be with you over the weekend to share the first Nomad Nis Nomad Festival weekend, and look forward to the future.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. Thank you for joining us for the Nis Nomad Weekend, and thank you for being a great speaker there.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Speak soon.
Speak soon.